All right, moving on. Okay, so this is from the Ciavula textbook, right? Factorizing cubic polynomials, right? Use the factor theorem to factorize f of x is equal to x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut out a piece of this, right? Factorize f of x is equal to x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. Now, as I promised, I said I would explain what we are doing with this remainder and factor theorem. And this is simply what we're doing. We are very shortly going to learn how to plot cubic curves, right? Now, in order to plot a cubic curve, I need to be able to get the roots of the cubic curve, and the roots will basically occur where we find the factors of this cubic curve. So that's why we're going to be using the remainder and factor theorem. Now, if I said factorize this, what we're going to do is we're going to find the first factor by something known as inspection, okay? And I'm going to be taking you through two methods of this, right? But how I'm going to start is, generally, what I can fathom from any sort of curve and cubic curve is one of the factors of this entire function is going to be a factor of 6, right? Now, we know that the factors of 6, right, if I had to list them, we know it could be 1, 2, 3, and 6, and then also the negative ones. So it could be -1, -2, -3, and -6. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's just try, right, and plug in a value, either 1, 2, 3, or 6, and see if we get 0. And of course, the easiest one to try is 1. So let's try f at 1. Okay. F at 1. So that's going to be 1 cubed minus 2 times 1 squared minus 5 times 1 plus 6. Okay, and if I did my arithmetic correctly, that'll be 1 cubed is 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. -1 minus 5 is -6. And -6 plus 6 is 0. Ooh, cool, right? So 0, that implies, right, that x minus 1 is a factor. All right? Now, the question is, how do we get the other factors? Okay, so option number 1 is we're going to be using something known as synthetic division, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to draw our division sign here, and then I'm going to have x minus 1 here, and then underneath I'm going to put, okay, so x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. Okay, all the way. Right, so this is how synthetic division works. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to start by looking at this thing here, right? So at x, and I'm going to ask how many times can x go into x cubed? So I know that x times x squared will give me x cubed, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to say, okay, x squared is here, like so. And then I'm going to multiply this. So I know x times x squared is going to give me x cubed. I'm going to place that underneath there. And then this -1, I'm going to multiply it. And it's going to be -1 times x squared is going to give me minus x squared, right? And as I do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract this thing from this thing. So x cubed minus x cubed is going to give me 0. And then that is going to become a positive, right? Because a negative times a negative. So what I'm going to have is, I'm going to have minus 2x squared plus x squared is going to give me minus 1x squared. And then I'm going to bring down this minus 5x, right? Very much like how I would do normal division. And now, as I did, I'm now going to look and say, okay, how many times can this x go into minus x squared? I know it will be minus x, right? Because minus x times x will give me minus x squared. So if I multiply that, I'll then have minus 1x squared. And that minus 1 will be a minus times a minus will be plus 1x. Okay, and then I know I'm going to subtract that. And you can see minus x squared plus 1x squared will give me 0. And then minus 5 minus 1, because the negative goes in. Just remember the sign will change. And that will become minus 5 minus 1 is minus 6x. And I bring down the 6. Aha. And then I do it again. So x can go to minus 6x minus 6 times. So minus 6x, that's if I multiply. And then minus 1 times minus 6 is a plus 6. And then once again, I'm going to subtract. And the signs will change. So minus 6 plus 6, minus 6x plus 6x is 0. And 6 minus 6 is 0. And I remind you, just remember that the sign would have changed there and there, right? So this confirms that I know for sure that x minus 1 is a factor. And then, so I know that now I can write, I can say f of x, let's do it in blue, right? I can say f of x is the same as saying it's equal to x minus 1 into x squared minus x minus 6, right? But I also know that I can factorize this thingy here. And what I'm going to do is let's do that with the cross method. Okay, always a fan of showing people how to do the cross method because I find it to be a very effective method. So on the left hand side of the cross, I list the factors of x squared. So that becomes x and x, because x times x gives me x squared. And then on the other side of this thingy here, I list the factors of minus 6, or the combination factors of minus 6 that will give me a minus 1. So I know as an example that, minus 3 times plus 2 will give me minus 6. And now if I cross multiply these thingies here, let's do it in yellow. So what I'm looking for is a minus x. That will be minus 3x. And I cross multiply here, and that's plus 2x. And now if I add, minus 3x plus 2x gives me minus x, right? So now, right, I know the factors as x minus 3 and x plus 2. So then I can say, okay, f of x is equal to x minus 1 into x minus 3 and x plus 2. Okay, so this is factorization using synthetic division. And in the next video, I'll take you through the same thing using something known as the reverse L method.